My name's Nev. I'm a teacher in Sydney at a secondary school called Blackwattle Bay. We just have year 11 and 12 students. Today I want to clone a GitHub site. This is my personal account here, and I have a school account here. So I want to clone this site to mine. I'm going to follow a Word document which has got a link at the bottom of the page, and we'll just go step by step. So first you're going to have to create a GitHub account. Okay, we'll start after that. So we come down here, you've got a GitHub account with probably nothing in it. So I think we're at this point here. So I'm going to copy this address. This is the one that I want to copy from. It's the bwattle account, and it's the one that I use for the school, Blackwattle Bay. And I'm going to my private account. Let's make this full screen. I'm going to go have a look at my various sites and create a new site. In here, I do not want to go new. I want to go import a repository and paste my site that I am copying from. I then want to say what name do I want to give it in my site, and I'm just going to call it add3. Keep that name as short as possible. I want to keep it public, and that way it's free, and also my school peers can have a look at it, and we'll begin the import. That should send me an email once it's finished, and we should be able to have a look at the files in here. It doesn't actually take that long. As a student, you probably won't necessarily be copying big sites. Okay, let's go back. Let's have a look at this now, and we're in import. So I'm just going to take that off there and look at the site. And here it's got JavaScript, Pascal, Python, and a couple of Visual Basics. We're going to work on Visual Basic for applications as well. When we come down here, we see that the link to the repository is the old bwattle site. We're going to replace that in just a minute, but before that I need to host this site. So to host, I'm going to go in to Settings, and down here to Pages, and select the master branch. Once I save it, it'll give me my new web address. There it is, copy. If I was to look at that, it usually takes a little while before it actually becomes live, and you can see it's not live yet. We'll come back to that in just a minute, and we will check it. It won't take very long. Okay, we'll go back here, and we'll have a look at the README file. I want to change that link, so I'll go into the pencil, come into this link here, and change it. The hosted site will be visible there. That can all remain the same. If you want to do any other editing, that's fine. Let's scroll down, and we're going to update the README file. That's okay. We're changing link to hosted site. Oops. Hosted site, and we're going to commit the changes. Once those changes are committed, let's go back here. We will have. We're in add3. How come we've got? How come there's 17 commits? I must have already had a site under this name. Let's just have a quick look. Update the README file, and you can see that this is the old in pink, and this is the new in green. So you can see what changes have been made. GitHub is keeping a track of things. Okay, it's as simple as that. Let's go see if our site is now hosted. We'll refresh this page. There it is. Okay, and then you're free to modify this as you wish. the next video will talk about opening this in Visual Studio. So we'll open it. Well, I may as well do it right now. You can sign off if you want to, but I'm going to open this video with, open this repository. So this is in my own personal repository now with Visual Studio. Yeah, that'll do. That's okay. Let's open. I haven't seen that message before. We'll open with Visual Studio. Now, what we do have to do is create a new totally empty folder. And I do everything in OneDrive so that I can go and work on different machines. I work on my Department of Education account. I work in my Git folder. And I'm going to create a new folder for Ad3 demo. Okay. And that'll be my folder that I'm going to use. Right, that's created. Let's go back here. And we are asked for our repository location. No, that's our repository. That's where we're coming from. Yeah, that's right. Here we want to ask, now this is set to an old address, but it's still in the Git folder. Let's go in here and correct it. I want to go to Git and I want to go to Ad3 demo. And if you have not chosen an empty folder, it'll scream at you. Let's select that folder and let's clone it. What it's going to do now is download that repository onto my local C drive, which is then going to go up into the OneDrive cloud. And I can see my Solution Explorer here. Should show the files. Okay, it's scanning. We've got a Git Changes tab here. I haven't got my properties showing, so I'll just have a look at View Properties while this is loading. It's taking a few minutes, but I like to have the Properties window down there. It's preparing the solution. Oh, the Properties is showing. I don't have to bother, but if it wasn't showing, I could just come in here to View Properties and it should appear, or maybe it's under Window. Can't remember now. Properties, why can't I see it? It's probably right in front of my nose. Anyway, we've got it here. We've got our, we can't see a JavaScript folder. That's interesting. But we've got a Python folder, a VB. Now what we might have to do is right click here and add an existing website. Now we'll go in here to our Ad3 demo, there it is, and go to our JavaScript folder. It won't let me open that folder because all that's in there is some HTML files. We'll open that. And we end up with a JavaScript folder here as well. So there's our JavaScript files. We have an index file in the root. So I'm going to do one more, right click, add. I'm just going to add an existing item. Let's do it this way. And I want to add my Pascal. No, I want to add this index file. Okay, they'll come in, yeah. All right, and I'm going to change that. Actually, what I should have done, let me change that. I'm running off the cuff here now. I'm going to remove that. Yep, that's okay. I'm going to right click and I'm going to add existing item. Yep. I'm going to add all of these items which just sit here in the root folder. And let's do it that way. Add. Okay, that's all right. All right, we'll try that once more without that solution file. add existing item. Let's do the web config, I'm going to hit control, readme, index. I'll do that copy. We'll do the git ignore and the git attributes. Add. Okay, and I'm going to call this rename folder root. And we're set now. We've got all our JavaScript in here. We've got our index file in here, which we can look at. We've got that's another file. I might remove that file because that's doubling up on things. Yes, I will. And then I've got, so I'm going to remove that. It's not actually removing the files. It's just removing from inside the Visual Studio window here. Okay, now I can see my JavaScript files, nice and neat. I can see my Python files, nice and neat. Oh, I need to import the Pascal files. Let's do that once more. Okay, add existing item. Let's go into the Pascal folder and select those two, control all, add, and cross fingers, yes, there we go. And I'm going to call these rename, and I'm going to call this Pascal. Okay, so now I've got my Pascal JavaScript in order. I'll keep going for a minute longer. Let's suppose I want to run my, at the moment that one's bold, so if I'm going to run, it's going to run Python. Let's suppose I want to run my VB, so I'm going to, where are we? Set a startup. And then let's have a look at the files before we run them. We can look at these files without having to have it as a startup project. There's the form, and here is the code. Let's look at them side by side. Right click, vertical, and we've got form and code side by side. Yeah, that's okay. And all right, because that's highlighted, we're going to see VB102 up here, and when we set it to run, away it goes, and it's going to open the VB folder. Okay, it's going to open the VB, it's going to create an exe file, and it's going to open that exe file. Here it is. Okay, this is specifically done to concatenate as a teaching. So it's supposed to add, but in fact it concatenates. And you can see that from the code here. These are not converted to numbers. So it's a way of teaching the difference between text values, numbers as text, and numbers as numbers. Okay, let's run a Python file just so that we know how to do that. We right click on Python and we say right click, set as the startup project. We look at our files, there's two there. If I wanted to run the first one, I would set that as the startup file. Notice the file is loaded lower down. And we run it, and here we go. Yep, here's a startup file, and we've got, when it finally gets there, it's going to ask us for our first number. Here we go. First number is 4, second number is 7, third number is 8, and when we edit, we end up with the number 478. It's concatenating instead of adding, same as before. Press any key, bingo, that's Python running. JavaScript, we can run, I tend to run JavaScript. I look at the code here. Let's get rid of this one now. And you'll notice I've already got my screen set to split. There'll be another video on if you're not sure how to do that. But I can split, I can view design view entirely, I can view split view, I can view the source. You can see I've got some warnings here. If I look at my error list, I've got warnings. It'll explain the reason for those warnings if I roll over here. Okay, I tend to go into my Git, go into my demo, and go into my JavaScript, and I'm running 102, so I'll run 102, and I can run it from here, 3 tab 8 tab 4, run it, and I get concatenation instead of actual addition. Lastly, Pascal. Now I cannot run Pascal, but I can look at the code for Pascal. So I can see here that these things are strings and not numbers, so they are going to concatenate as well. If you go back to the repository, and maybe let's just check the repository we have just made. Our repository has no releases, but if we go back to the original repository, the bwaddle repository, which is in another browser, the bwaddle repository, in the releases, there are only Word docs at this stage. Later on, there will be releases for the exe files. Asset 7. Okay. Here is a Pascal exe file. I'll download it. Of course, my machine. Oh, it's not screaming at all. Normally, it would scream about that. It's carrying on about the threats. Okay. If I if you download that, if your machine will download it, you can run the exe file from the releases, and I suggest releases exes go into the releases, and the actual files here can be edited with Pascal PX. Pascal. Let's go have a look at it right now. I'm in here, VSJ Pascal, Pascal XE it is, and that's opening. Here we go, Pascal XE, let's get it big. Here's our code, execute, and it should bring up the fact here. Enter the first number, 3, enter, 5, enter, 7, enter, and it concatenates also. Okay, so that's the way that we can run multiple languages within Visual Studio, cloning to our own repository first. Thank you very much.